everyone, and welcome. Hi, Cara. Thanks for joining me.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Guys, if you're joining us live today, it is so good to have you. You might have to watch this as a recording because I mixed up the time on our Facebook event. I'm so sorry about that. But luckily, Cara and I had the same time, so we're still here for you guys today. So if you're watching this as a recording, give us a shout out. Let us know where you are from and also what your interest is in today's topic. Today, we're going to be speaking about can vet rehab be profitable? And this is definitely something that I think I know a lot of us struggle with it, and whether it's rooted in our mindset and our beliefs, or whether it's rooted in how we set up our businesses and how the industry is run, there are things that we can do to be profitable. There are ways to be profitable. Many of us are profitable, but there are many of us who struggle to just be financially stable. So, Cara, can you please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your journey and your interest in today's topic?
Yes. Thank you, Anae. First off, let me just tell everyone I'm getting over being sick, so I apologize for my froggy voice. But we can make it through this live interview, no problem. Just hang in there with me, guys. So I'm a veterinarian, and I've been out of veterinary school for 24 years now. I owned a veterinary practice that I started from a house call practice and grew it up to a 7,000, almost 8,000 square foot practice with 30 employees over a 20-year period. And within that general practice, I had a rehab practice. So I kind of have gone from small to large, and then I sold that practice in 2020, but still felt a little too young to retire. So decided in 2022 that rehab training and certification had completely changed the way that I practiced and how I was able to help my patients, and really my whole outlook on being a part of the veterinary world, that I wanted to continue to provide that education for others looking for something to grasp onto, to keep them happy in the veterinary world, and also for our physical therapists, giving them that opportunity to take their skills and utilize them on a completely different new patient population. So that's kind of my history. Now, crazy as it may seem, the other thing that's happening right now, like as we speak, today is the day I'm actually taking back over my rehabilitation practice that was within the GP practice that I sold, taking it back over and moving it out of that GP practice and into the CRI headquarters. So now putting back on practice management or practice ownership hat, and which I think is, really exciting. I love practicing. I love helping my patients. And I think it'll be great for CRI students to be able to come learn about rehabilitation and then be able to walk right next door and see a practice live and in action, and be able to take home, a fuller perspective of what rehabilitation truly is.
Wow, that's a big day for you today, Cara. Well done. Congratulations. I'm really excited. I'm excited. That sounds,
it's good. A big day. I'm excited. So I just, we're not letting this little cold hold me back. We just got to keep pushing.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about profitability, and let's start with why there is a belief that rehab isn't a profitable industry.
Okay. This is going to come, this may seem a little harsh, and I'm about to step up on my soapbox, but I'm doing it for the betterment of all of us. Okay, guys? Yeah. I really, truly think it's people just don't understand what rehabilitation is. Full stop. They don't know what a rehab practice is. And by that, I mean people in the veterinary industry, they want to view rehab as like a small GP practice. They want to make rehab fit in the same box that general practices fit, check the same boxes, have the same key metric indicators. And when they look at, and this is true for a corporate equity practice ownership, where they own 400 practices, or even a general practitioner who's thinking about adding rehab to a veterinary practice. They have their own set of perceptions, and they want to make rehab fit in that set of perceptions. And when they sit down and look at a P&L and that they see staffing costs of a rehab practice is upwards of 40 to 50%, it just blows their mind. They just can't understand how that can be a profitable number when they're constantly trying to make things more efficient and streamlined. And they're looking at that number of staffing trying to get it to like 18%. They just can't figure out how to make those two things work. And they just look at that as that's not successful. Excuse me. So I think that's one thing. It's like it's just a completely different perception. So what happens is when they start a practice and they're like, wow, staffing costs are really high. What can we do to reduce the staffing costs? Oh, I know. Let's get rid of some of these people, or let's not hire new people. And let's try to squeeze as much in to their day as we possibly can. And now you got a smaller staff having to do more. So then what happens? Well, they burn out and they quit. And if you don't have a team, you don't have a profitable practice, right?
So
go ahead.
It's kind of that business model that we're looking at. We're trying to fit the rehab business model into a veterinary practice model, and they're not the same thing at all. No, they're not the same thing at all. They're not generating income in the same way. So the way that we create schedules, income streams, they don't look the same. That's what I'm saying.
They absolutely do not. They look nothing alike. And so what you have to also remember, though, is a rehab practice doesn't have thousands and thousands of dollars sitting on a shelf of heartworm, flea and tick product, vaccines that you have to sell, right? Really, the only thing that we sell is ourselves and the service that we can provide and our education, our unique qualifications that makes us so different than other practitioners. We are a service-based business. We are not a high volume type of practice. And I think another big problem is so many veterinarians think about, oh yeah, I want to add rehab to my practice. That could be like an ancillary profit stream, right? Like grooming or boarding. I can get a technician trained in rehab, buy them an underwater treadmill and a laser, and they can just generate profit for me. Completely unsupervised. Okay. Anybody who actually does rehab knows rehab does not equal an underwater treadmill and a laser. Those are just two tools that we may or may not even use in a rehab practice. What makes a rehab practice is your training and your education and your hands-on skills. And if you don't have that, you're not going to have a good rehab practice. And guess what will then happen? You're kind of putting your technician out on this limb that they have no business being on. They are taking on too much when it comes to patient evaluations, patient progressions, and you're really taking them beyond their scope of practice. If you don't have like a DVM or a physical therapist dedicated to oversee this technician and assistants, you're taking them way out beyond what their comfort level should be, and you're putting them at risk for liability issues, as well as the patient's health is at risk, which overall will lead to more burnout. So it's just this vicious cycle. Everyone needs to just completely wipe away what they think rehabilitation is, first of all, and two, realize that a rehab practice has a whole new set of rules, and they need to listen to the people that actually do rehab to know what those rules are.
Awesome. Guys, it's so good to have you live with us. We're getting lots of, exactly people agreeing with what you're saying. I think that's so important to recognize that primarily we are selling a service. We're selling our time. We're trading our time for our money. And when we're doing that with an inaccurate model of what that looks like, so if we're trying to fit that into a business model that doesn't reflect that time for money as the primary kind of trade, then you're going to run into, you know, whatever challenges you're setting yourself up for. However, trading your time for money has its own limitations in terms of sustainability and profitability. What are some of the challenges with that we don't necessarily anticipate as new graduates in the profession?
Right. I think for the most part, we all have servants' hearts, right? We're all there.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in rehab because we love helping patients, right? We love helping our pets get better. We love seeing, you know, the pet owners get to spend more time, quality time with their pets. Like, we directly contribute to extending good quality of life for these pets.
Mm-hmm.
And that is heartwarming, right? I mean, there's nothing better than that, honestly. And I think so many of us rush into this profession because of that passion and because of the warm fuzzies that it provides us, right? But warm fuzzies don't pay the bills, folks. They fill our heart, but they don't fill our bank accounts, right? And so then we're stuck. We're like, we have this almost like moral debate, like, I'm doing this to be helpful and to help pets, and it feels almost shameful to expect to make a profit off of this. And I think we just have to say, you know, there's those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can do good and help pets and their owners and make a profit.
Yeah.
It's not one or the other. And
Mm-hmm.
you do not need to feel bad about it. I mean, if you can't make enough money to feed yourself, your family, put a roof over your head, pay off student loans, maybe take a vacation. I mean, oh my goodness, the luxury of that, right? Like, if you can't even make yourself profitable enough to do the basic necessities of life, then you won't be doing it much longer. And nobody's going to get the benefit of that treatment that you have and that knowledge that you have. So you have to make it profitable enough to pay yourself. And then if you want to grow it, then you have employees. They also have families to feed and bills to pay. So you've got to get it out of your mind that doing a service is not mutually exclusive from making profits. And there are just so many variables that you have to go into a rehab practice knowing that so many of us are leaving either veterinary medicine or PT world because of burnout, and we're looking at rehab as like this oasis, right? But if you go into this wonderful niche of physical rehabilitation blindly, then guess what? You're just going to get burned out again. You have to go in setting up your expectations and the client expectations about what something like this service is going to cost so that you can be profitable. That doesn't mean we, charge exorbitant amounts, but you have to charge enough to make a healthy profit so that you can sustain yourself and your team long term, or else nobody has a job. And none of these pets are going to be getting this service.
Yeah, I think that's really important because there's definitely a mindset for us around, if we're not business people, then it feels wrong to try and make a profit, to work to make a profit. And I know, because I am not a business person, and I try to work for myself, treating patients here and there and everywhere. And although I felt in the beginning like I was making enough money, right? I could buy a nice cup of coffee or service the car or whatever. When I actually sat with someone who knew what they were doing, they were like, no, you're not making enough money to pay yourself. Never mind to cover your expenses for the business. Never mind X, Y, Z. And it was a massive, massive shock to me. But I even before I understood it from a financial perspective, I felt it on a very personal level. I started to feel exhausted, bitter, frustrated, like I wasn't worth, this wasn't worth it anymore, because it was just, people wanted me to work for free or travel for free, or and I wanted to be able to do that, but there's just no way to run up the miles on your car and not service it. I can't do that.
Right.
So it was a case of when I got pregnant, I had to leave treating patients because I couldn't sustain it. There was no way for me to sustain it anymore with a change in my life. And whether that's getting pregnant or having an injury or, a family crisis, for those of us who are running businesses and trading time for money, that puts us out of work immediately. It's just like, now I can't see patients, so I can't earn an income. And making sure that your business is profitable is how we make sure that we can sustain ourselves through that time. It means the way our business runs, it can run without us. It has a pocket of safety so that if we do have to close the doors because of an injury or a crisis or whatever, there is money to sustain the expenses, like paying employees. It isn't a negotiable thing to be profitable. It is the safe thing for you to do.
And it's so important. It really does require a lot of planning. You can't just hope everything's going to work out okay, because I really care about animals. That's just irresponsible to yourself and to your patients, really, because your clients are going to, start to depend on you to provide these services. And then if you have to, close up shop because you didn't plan well enough, then that's just unfair. Yeah, it is hard. And, there's so many different practice models that you can have within this field. You can be a solo practitioner doing house calls and your overhead expenses are so low, but then everything is dependent on you, right? So if you do get sick, you're just out the money for that day. So you do have to plan, like, okay, how can I start to have some savings to cover my cost? And then as you grow, like, you look at different types of insurances that you can have, like disability insurances and things like that would sustain you for a longer period of time. And then, if you have a larger team, the thing about the team and I think this is a huge stumbling block for a lot of folks is, they want to grow their practice. They hire new people, but they don't train them appropriately. And you've got folks who have gone through a certification program and really have the great foundational knowledge to understand the why behind a lot of the things that we do. And then you train and you hire someone and you expect them to kind of automatically have all of that knowledge. And they didn't go through the training. They don't know. And if you think that you're going to be able to train somebody while you're also in a clinic seeing patients to the same extent that you received going through a certification program, you are in denial. I mean, you are totally fooling yourself. I've tried, and I know because I've done this, right? Like, before I took over Sierra, I was on faculty. I trained people. I still train people, but I trained people to do rehab. And I thought, oh, I'll be able to train some of these assistants. No, you're too busy. And they're busy. Yeah. It's just not doable. So I think people need to, if they really want to be able to delegate to these team members, you must first put money into their education, into their training, before you can expect them to be able to produce you money. It's so backwards in thinking. And if you put money in education and training before you put money into equipment, like, oh, should I buy this underwater treadmill or send 2 of my technicians to get trained? Send your techs.
Yes.
That is a no-brainer, but so many people look at it completely backwards and they think, oh, if I have this piece of equipment, that's going to pull people over. Well, it might, until you can't see them because you don't have enough trained people, or you're not getting good patient results because you have folks who are doing things that they're really not sure about. So I think people just need to take a step back for a second and think about, really, what is the foundation of a rehab practice? What is a rehab practice? It's not all the fancy tools. They're nice, but that is not the foundation of a rehab practice. Your hands, physical rehabilitation, manual therapy, therapeutic exercise. That's it. Those are the foundations. Modalities are nice, but they don't make or break a rehab practice.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, that's really important, because we like to also think about, well, I'm not making profit. What more can I do or add or change or, add? And then we think, okay, well, if we buy this laser and then we charge separately for the laser, that's great. But
Who cares if you don't know where to point the laser? Who cares? Yeah. If you don't know enough about anatomy to know what structure you are actually needing to point the laser at, why does it even matter if you have a laser?
Yeah.
Right.
So the problem is the foundation of your practice. What you are, your foundational service is not drawing in enough income. That's the primary problem. You need to fix that and then look at how you can add other income streams.
And I think that so many times, and this is just human nature, right? We just want to hit the easy button. We just want to make this, what's the fastest way I can get this done? And, they look at all their options and they think, let's buy a piece of equipment. And yes, I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have these things, but I do think sometimes people purchase these really expensive pieces of equipment before they've really developed their practice. And they're overextended on payments, and now they get stuck really in a tough place where they can't get out of that hole. I've seen practices that have all the bells and whistles, but they're not properly staffed, and they go under. Like beautiful, huge practices. If you don't have the team members to be able to provide the services, not only appropriately but safely, then it doesn't matter what you have. We have to think about putting our time and energy into our team first, and supporting our team, including yourself. And so, one other thing that we need to consider is profitability is not always money. It's also time. So you can improve your profitability by giving yourself more time off. It's a little bit of a different perspective, but it doesn't, who cares if you're making huge profits if you never see your family, or you never get to do your hobby that you love, or you never just get to take a nap sometimes, right? That's probably why I am not feeling 100% right now, is because I'm just I'm in kind of a busy time, a busy season. I can see over the horizon and know that, okay, everything's going to be fine in a few weeks. I'm not going to maintain this pace forever. Yeah. So I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard when you have to, but you also have to look at big picture. You can't just grind the wheels just for profitability. I mean, there's got to be a balance. But you got to be profitable enough to be able to stay in business. So we all need to work together to improve that perception of our practice. And it's just a shift that we need to consider.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love that. And I don't think that we have a problem with working hard. We work too hard. We forget that we need to rest. And it's so interesting. I actually pulled out my Global Vet Rehab Industry Report, which I printed. How beautiful is that?
I have that. I love that.
Have it. I don't know why. Okay, you need it. I'll put the link in later. But it's really interesting to see, how much Vet Rehabbers are earning in the different countries, what their family setups are like. It just continues to blow my mind that so many of us in our industry don't have children. The vast majority of us don't have children. I have kids. Cara has kids. Meg has kids. A lot of people I know in our industry have kids. Hi, guys. So it feels strange, but that's what the data is saying. And is there a reason for that? Is it related to the work that we're doing? Are we just working too hard that we don't give ourselves the space to start a family? It could definitely be, or we don't feel safe enough to be able to, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're going to have children, you're going to have to take time off of work. How much time are you going to take off of work? Because we're carers. So you already know once you have that little human and they're your responsibility, you're not going to just want to go straight back to working 12-hour days. You already know that, right? So do we feel like we're not safe enough in this industry and in this space to have families, and does it even matter? I don't know. It's just a really interesting little bit of data that
it is interesting. And I think part of that may be that it could just be that it's just like the folks that are attracted to rehab maybe just aren't as excited about having kids. I think some people, they just don't want to have kids, and that's cool too. But I also think that there is this feeling within the rehab community that nobody's fighting for us, and that we have to, like, tooth and nail keep a place at the table.
Yeah.
And if we step back for whatever reason, have a family, take a sabbatical, pursue some other interest for a short period, that place at the table will be lost, whether it be within our little practice or within our community that we live in, or in the veterinary world as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think that a big thing that we all need to do better at is just supporting each other any way that we can within our practices, within our communities, and within the rehab world. No matter, there's a lot of division within our little world, which is so ridiculous if you ask me, but whatever, we won't go down that road. Put the egos aside and let's just all be there for each other, because if we can be there for each other, the end user is going to be two things. Our end users are going to be our patients that we care for and their owners, and then us and our team and our family. We got to take care of ourselves, or we can't ever take care of our families, our friends, and our patients. So I know it's like, that seems like a huge task, but if we all just kind of just stepped up a little bit to help support each other, I think that we can make that happen.
Yeah, I agree. We should be supporting each other, basically, above almost anything else. We are one industry, one profession, one team. It doesn't matter what our backgrounds are, our different trainings are.
Right.
We can all fill a piece of the puzzle and be a part of the team that at the end of the day makes a difference to the patients that we care about. That's what it's about. It's the patients at the end of the day.
Absolutely. That's absolutely it. I mean, if you come into a rehab practice for the profitability and not the patient, then you are in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Take an exit, go somewhere else, because that is not where these are not your people. You're not in the right spot. If you come in with an eye on the patient, and also knowing you got to make some profit to be able to sustain your life, then you're with us. You're in a good place. So
I love it. Okay, so what are some of the simple things that Vetrehabbers can do to help increase profit in their businesses?
Okay. First of all, you got to charge appropriately. I mean, that's probably the biggest. People don't value their time. They don't value their knowledge. And so they don't charge appropriately. Far and away, vet rehabbers, physical therapy, folks that do rehab don't charge enough. And I think that is a self-reflection outward. I think people are undervaluing their own training and skills. And so first of all, you need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm worth charging enough to pay my bills. I mean, that's so silly. Do you think other professions do that? No. No. That's so silly. It's so backwards. So first of all, just believe in yourself enough that you can actually charge your clients enough to be able to pay your bills. Does that mean you might lose some clients and not be able to help some patients? Yes, because unfortunately, this is a cash-based system and not everybody can afford rehab, and that's sad. And maybe you have, a different plan for folks that you can still help, but it's not like the same full service. I don't know. But you need to, first and foremost, you need to charge appropriately. And the second, and I know I'm beating this like a dead horse, but whatever, make sure you put your money into education and training before you put your money into the fancy tools. because the tools mean nothing if you don't really know why you're using them and how you're using them. You just won't get the same patient results that you would if you had a properly trained team. And expanding your team, if you want to expand in that way, expanding your team is going to be what helps you grow your practice and make yourself like, it's not all dependent on you. You've got like some of those responsibilities are now shared amongst a team. And that way, if you do get sick and you need to take a day off, you can. And you can still pay your rent that month.
It's really important. I think what I felt for myself shift when I changed my pricing to just reflect what my time is actually worth. There was a huge change in a lot of things. One, my mental perspective on what I was doing was massive. And I want to say this to encourage you guys, because we want to help the people, we want to help everyone. And that includes the people who can't afford us. But then when we continually do that, it creates that feeling of, it's not a nice feeling. And I don't have to describe it because I know everyone knows what that is.
You feel like a doormat. You feel like everybody's just taking and taking and taking. Yeah.
But what happens is, if we end up charging appropriately and we have these clients who keep feeding into, you are worth it. I have no problem paying you what you're worth. I'm not even going to quib about the price. This is it. Cash on the table, done. What happens is someone then comes in who says, I can't do it. And you have enough money in the bank to say, hey, let me help you, with a huge smile, without any feelings of frustration or guilt, or because you can actually do it.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing that changed for me. And some other things that I've heard is that there are payment systems that people have set up. There are funds that people have set up so that they can cover that gap. Because at the end of the day, we do want to cover that gap, but you can truly only do it from a place of sustainability and profitability. If you try and do it before you're there, you're just making a mess of things.
You're just digging your hole deeper, right?
No.
Yes. And the goal is to get out of the hole. Don't dig deeper.
Get out.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of ways that you can try to help the folks that really need the help. One thing that we do at our practice is, let's say we sold a 10 sessions of a rehab package. And unfortunately the pet dies and they still have 3 sessions left. We give that client the opportunity to either, we're happy to refund the money that, for the sessions that they didn't use, or we can say, hey, if you want to donate those unused sessions to maybe a pet in need, we can just hang on to them and we'll use them to help another pet. And so many clients are like, oh, please do that. Yes, that can be part of my pet's legacy. I want to help other pets. So, there are ways around it to try to help these pets in need. And yeah, there's all kinds of payment systems, care credit. It probably depends on where you live, but care credit and, Slack. There's different, not Slack. I can't remember the name of it. I should remember. I'm going to claim Cold Head. I don't remember the name of it, but there's different ways that you can pay. And guess what? You don't have to be that person's bank, right? You don't have to take on that person's financial problems.
Yes. I think that's so important.
Because then it becomes your financial problem.
Yeah, that's really important. So I love that. And I wanted to bring that up just as a way to encourage you guys, because you can still do that. You don't have to let go of being able to help people, but just recognizing that you actually do need to do it from a place of sustainability. If you want to stay here, if you want to keep doing what you're doing, then that's really important. So Cara, what do you think about diversifying your income and having other opportunities or options for income to come into your practice, like holding stock or creating online products? Are some of the ways, or running courses, workshops where you can have multiple people benefiting? Is that a good thing to do? Why should or shouldn't we look at diversification?
I think diversification is a good principle as long as it's not like you're taking your already full-time job and adding another full-time job on it. Because that's a slippery slope. And I speak from experience. Okay. So, if you can diversify yourself without just like multiplying the amount of work you're doing, great. And whether that be some online presence, I think is fine. For me in my rehab practice, so obviously this is going to vary based on your licensure. Like I'm a veterinarian, so I can add things to my practice that a physical therapist wouldn't be able to add. Like I can add in diagnostics, I can add in lab work, I can add in, procedures that add to my practice, right? If I can't add those things, then maybe I would add in some things like, conditioning services, above and beyond what you can do in a rehab session, online training, hosting community events, going to like agility or flyball or fast cat events and being present and, talking to clients or potential clients and maybe even looking at patients while you're there. I mean, there's ways that you can diversify that aren't just adding diagnostics. But I do think you got to be careful because like you said, we're not a lazy bunch. We definitely have a good work ethic, but it's really easy to overextend yourself. And even if you're doing what you love, if you're doing it too much, it still starts to feel like a burden.
Okay. Let me bring this up. Chris says, I understand it's common for vets in a GP practice to be an associate provider and receive clinic profit. Does this hold true for a rehab practice? Is it common for rehab practice to be associates and earn a percentage of revenue generated by the entire clinic? Interesting question.
Yeah. So I can only speak on my personal experience as a associate within a practice, and also having an associate that I'm bringing over to my new practice. And then, and first of all, hi, Chris. I know Chris. Thanks for being here, Chris. So what I would say is absolutely you can do like what we would call a pro sal, where you make a base salary and then anything you produce above that salary, you can make a percentage off of. And I also think that we should demand a higher percentage than a general practice veterinarian because we are providing a specialty service. So like most GP practices, from what I understand, the percentage is maybe 20 to 25%. 25% would be on the high end, very high end for a GP to make for production. However, as a rehabber, I would be asking for, starting at maybe 23% and up to, and it's all negotiable based on your skill set, your experience level, and really what the numbers show. Like if you're not bringing anybody in, it doesn't matter if you're making 30%. 30% of nothing is still nothing. So you've got to be busy enough to generate the income to be able to sustain or to make 30% even happen, right? So yes, that is definitely a way that you can see that set up in a practice, and I've had that set up in my practice in the past and in the future.
Okay, awesome. So I love when you were talking about the diversification, you specifically mentioned that the time component of it. And I think that's really important when we consider ways that we could diversify, that we're looking at things that are not trading time for money. We're already doing that, and that should be our foundation. So how can we add an income stream that isn't reliant on our time? Right. And if that's the scenario, then it could be a good thing to pursue. Absolutely. Or it's like maximizing your time. So a workshop, for example, you see a lot of old dogs, you see a lot of geriatrics. So you run a weekly session where you teach the pet owners to XYZ, and you have 5 to 10 dogs that are using 1 hour of your time as opposed to 10 hours of your time. That makes sense, right? So looking at ways that you can do that. And I'll mention our PLR products that we're launching next week, because that would be another way. You have time that you spend to start it up, and then a smaller percentage of time to sustain it, but you create it once and you can keep selling the same thing. And that would be the ideal in terms of diversification.
Right. If you can, yes. And if you've got those tools, and I mean, I think you guys are so fantastic to be able to provide those tools to your membership and rehab community, because, so many of us, like you said, don't have business training or don't even have the time to devote to thinking to how can we diversify. So yeah, if you can set something up that can be sustainable without you having to constantly push, pull, maneuver, that is the best of both worlds, and some initial work to set it up is one thing, but like day in and day out, if you can figure out how to do that, that would be great.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I'm on your little your sign up list. I'm getting all the emails now.
Yeah. No, I am beyond excited for our PLR products. I'm going to tell you guys about it in a little bit, and then you'll know what it is. So Sarah says, thoughts on doing things in group, virtually, or in classes. Not exactly rehab, but more along the lines of what we see in human physiotherapy, where you might have a pre-op class before surgery or post-op classes for recovery to help those that want rehab but may not be able to afford or have access to it. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that's another way you can help people who actually can't afford your services by, I like that.
I love it, Sarah. That's awesome, because the trick would be to get enough people. Like, I just automatically think of TPLOs because that's the most common surgery that's done. It's the most common rehab that we deal with. So like having a class, hey, your pet's been diagnosed with cruciate disease. You're scheduled for surgery in 6 weeks, or whenever. And we'll have a class now about like what to do between now and surgery. And then we'll have a class in a few weeks about what to do after surgery. And I think that that's great. And you charge for it. Don't do it for free. Charge for it. But then it's something, right? It's better than nothing, right? Yeah. And I think that's fine. You just have to be careful, right? Because you don't want to give so much advice that you are kind of breaching the whole patient practitioner relationship. You still have to keep it fairly superficial, right? You can't give like direct advice without your hands-on evaluating the patient before you give advice. So you'd have to keep it somewhat superficial, but still that could help a lot of patients. So I love it.
Yeah. And that would be, I think that's a great idea. That would be really great to strengthen your relationships with your vets as well, because it could be something that you do in their space or at their practice on a semi-regular basis, depending on their surgical schedule. And that's going to happen at a specialist veterinary practice, right? Because that's the only place where you're going to have that kind of caseload. So I think that's a really good idea. And starting off with something like that in person, you could definitely over time take it into an online format where you could help a much broader, more people in more areas, instead of just where you can reach with your hands. And I love that. Good plan, Sarah.
Yeah. One thing that I did way back when I was just I don't want to downplay general practice. It's hard. That's why I'm not doing it any longer. But when I was in GP, I was very energetic and a go-getter. I did these monthly pet health topics where I had a topic per month that I would invite my clients to, and really anybody in the community. I would hold it at the fire department. They had a classroom that you could you didn't even have to rent it. It was free. As long as you signed up, you could reserve it. And I would host basically an hour-long presentation on I remember I did one on pain management. I did one on dental health. I did one on weight loss. I think I did one on dermatology. I did one on like some of the big things folks deal with. And I always tied it in with, if you come to this class, then I will give you a discount towards a service. So that way it gave people some reason to want to come other than just the knowledge, which I'm like, you should just want this knowledge. It's fabulous knowledge, right? But you're asking people to come on after a busy day of work. They're tired. They've got to feed their kids. They got to, there's a lot of moving parts that they're trying to, get organized to be able to attend one of these things. So I would put some sort of an incentive. So like for dental, the dental month, February is dental month. I hosted the class in January, and I told them, if you schedule your dental procedure in the next 2 days, then you'll get an additional 10% off or whatever. So now, if you give too many discounts, you're eating into your profit. But if you do it just enough to kind of start drawing people in, then that can, over time, really increase your client base and word of mouth and community goodwill. So I think education is where it's at. I mean, that's why I do what I do. Right? That's really where it all stems from.
Yeah. I agree with you. If we can find ways to educate, run classes, run workshops, it will expand your client base for sure. I definitely find that. And whether it's just the fact that you might be reaching people that you wouldn't otherwise be reaching, or it's the fact that you are positioning yourself as a knowledgeable expert.
Yes.
I think that is hugely important as well, is that you're putting this value onto yourself. You're saying, I can teach you, I can educate you. I am a professional who knows what I'm doing.
Yep.
The moment you do that, people see you in that light and then they want you. And I think that's huge.
And on that same note, hold events for your local veterinary community.
Yeah.
Invite the local veterinary. I mean, I've done that lots of times, and I know that's super scary. I get it. I totally get it. But they won't see you as a professional that they can refer to if you don't put yourself in that spot. And you just have to step out and feel confident in your knowledge and your skill set, because you definitely have skills that the veterinarians don't have. They just don't. And it's not good or bad. It's just different. And you need to let them know what you can do that's different, that they can help their patients, that you can help their patients.
And they won't know. They won't know unless you tell them many times.
I mean, I'll tell you, I think a lot of veterinarians think they know. And I see this in class quite often. I'll have a veterinarian who's been out in practice for maybe 20 years and is really confident in their skills, which they should be, right? They've been doing it for 20 years. And they have this view, like they have this knowledge base, and they think rehab obviously must fit within this knowledge base because this is what I know.
Yeah.
And on day 2 of class, they're like, oh, wait a minute. There's like this whole other thing that I had no idea even existed. Yeah. And it's not that they're not smart people. It's just they were never exposed. Yeah. And so that's going to be true for the practitioners out in your communities. If they've never really dug deep into what rehab training is, they really don't know how we can help them. So you do have to teach them.
Agreed. Okay, good. So Cara, you are running a course, or CRI is running a course very soon. Please tell us about what that's about and how people can sign up.
So it is called The Business of Canine Rehabilitation, and it is a course that it's a hybrid course. So it's got online pre-course videos that are about 9.5 hours long. And then we're going to come together as a group for 3 consecutive Wednesday nights, starting March 20th, March 27th, and April 3rd. And each evening, it's about an hour and a half of a roundtable discussion. And there's 3 of us instructors, myself, also Amy Kramer, who's a physical therapist who owns a multiple standalone practices in California, as well as Francisco Maya, who's a physical therapist who owns a standalone practice in Chicago. And the three of us, we've all kind of had multiple practice models. So starting out as a mobile practitioner, moving into like a lease space, and then into a standalone practice. So we've all kind of practiced in the full gamut of the different practice models, which is nice because we can all draw from those experiences. And then also, you're going to have a PT perspective, you're going to have veterinary perspective. And so what we do is the students watch the videos ahead of time. We come together, and really the roundtable discussion is completely driven by the students in the class. What questions they have. And, we have students from all walks of life. We have folks who aren't even in rehab yet. They're just thinking about getting into rehab, and they're really doing it the smart way. They're like, I should probably learn about this and what it looks like before I just dive head first into getting trained, right? So we have people who aren't certified and don't know much about rehab, but they want to know about the business portion first. And then we have people who maybe they've been doing it for a while, but now they want to branch out on their own and they want to start their own practice. Or we have people who've been doing it for a while and they're like, I need to make this more efficient. What can I do to be more efficient, to make it more profitable? And then we also have folks who are like, you know what? I'm doing great, but I need to scale. I want to grow, or maybe I'm about ready to sell. What can I do? How can I position my practice to sell it? So we cover everything from starting a practice all the way to selling a practice. And when it comes time for the roundtable discussion, it's really who are our students? What do they need? And we just help them in whatever ways we can.
Okay. Are those discussions virtual?
Yes, they are. They are via Zoom meetings, and they're virtual. I know the time probably doesn't work for everybody all over the world, and I know that's frustrating. We do also set up a Facebook group so we can have some communication via Facebook, and we do record the Zoom meetings. So, if somebody really, really wanted to take the class, they could watch the pre-course videos, watch the Zoom meetings, ask questions on Facebook. It wouldn't be the exact same experience, but they could at least get the knowledge, and hopefully that could help them moving forward.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. It sounds like you have a great team working on that. Yeah, we have multiple podcasts with Francisco Maya. So if you guys follow the Veterinary Rehabilitation podcast, you'll get a taste of some of what he does and how he teaches. And just a phenomenal mind for the business side of rehab,
He's
which
great.
is fantastic.
He's great. I mean, and he has his own program, which is fabulous.
Yep.
And Amy's great too, because she's just got such practical experience, years of practical experience of knowing what works, what absolutely doesn't work. So it's a really great team to just, I feel kind of like, it's like, okay, kids, let's all gather around and we're gonna pass down this knowledge. That's what it feels like to me. And I kind of hope that's what it feels like for the students, because that's what's needed. We just need to help each other and support each other.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So guys, if you're interested, that will be on the CRI website, right? And you can sign up. When can they sign up? When does it open?
Right now it's open. It's already half full. So if you think you want to take it this spring, you better step it up. Get in there. Depending on the demand, we'll probably host another one in the fall. But yeah, I would go ahead and try to get signed up if you're interested.
Okay. Yeah, there is no better time to sort out your business plan yesterday. So today. So okay, no, that's fantastic. Okay, and then I told you guys I tell you about the PLR products, which are really exciting. So we've been kind of playing around with this for a while. You guys know Meg has been encouraging and helping people get into the online space. So how to create digital products and sell digital products and start creating an income stream in that space, which is daunting. I do understand that. So we're not generally techie people. And I know you guys love to look at me and say I know everything. rubbish. I knew nothing until I started working for online pet health and had to figure it out on the fly. Okay, I'm not a techie person at all. And now I'm sitting here on my Mac with my iPhone, and it's very scary 6 years later. But okay, so the point is, the first stumbling block we run into when we want to create an online product is we have to create an online product. So what the PLRs are, they're products that you can rebrand. So between Meg and myself, we've created a bunch of products, and once we launch these, we'll create the next bunch of products that you can take, rebrand, rewrite. You can basically change as much or as little about it as you want until you're happy with it. So it looks and feels like your business, like your brand, and it represents what you believe. So you can either take Meg and my knowledge as it is and how we've presented it and not touch it, and it'll be fine. Or you don't agree with parts of what we've said, so you rewrite it 100%. Now you've got digital products, and it was as easy as clicking a few buttons in Canva. It really is that easy. And then you have to launch the product. That's the next stumbling block that people run into. So if you sign up for the VIP list now, and I'll pop the link in, and you sign up to our launch products that are releasing next week, Meg is giving all the launch, so all the products, we have 6 products with a template on how to redo them, how to recreate them, and then how to actually put them out into the world and launch them. So she's doing all of those steps for us next week. And if you sign up to that first product, you're going to have all of that in one go. So you'll literally have 6 products to start with, how to make them your own, and then how to launch them, which is huge. And we're hoping that that takes away the stumbling blocks for you guys, so that if you're ready to step into that space, you'll have the tools to do it. I'm very excited about it because obviously I love the things I create. Otherwise I wouldn't do it. Well, but like our dysplasia PDF and poster and the elbow dysplasia PDF and poster are in there. And I redid the illustrations, so you guys get my illustrations.
You do such a good job. You do such a good job with those. I love them.
Thank you. I love them. I love the illustrations. It's my favorite thing that I do now. So get onto that list if you guys are interested. If you're interested in going into that space, then that'll be good. If you're not ready to go into the digital space, then don't do it. It's intimidating. It feels scary. I get that. Find other ways that feel more natural to you to diversify your income. That's the first step. So find ways that fit who you are, and then step forward from there. But I think it's really important to have alternative streams of income. And it's really important to have those streams of income that are not reliant on your time, because you will get injured. That's how life works. And life will happen. And it's good to have a safety net, an extra income somewhere. Yeah. It is a good thing. And you deserve it.
You do.
Okay.
Yes. And you all preparing these templates is such a huge thing, because I do a lot of the creative social media posts and things like that for CRI. Yeah. I wear many, many hats. But that's so time consuming, right? I mean, to make it look just so, it's very time consuming. So the fact that you guys have done that work for your community is such a huge thing that people really need to be like, yay, I can take this and run with it. So that's great.
Thank you. And I really do want to say that I know that so many of you look at us and you think we do everything. Honestly, I write the stuff down and then I send it to a designer who puts it in Canva. So just know that it's also okay to get help. Yes, Nada, I'm going to pop that link in now, and then you'll have that. And I'm really excited about it. If you sign up to this list, you're just going to be getting the offer from us via email, and you'll have the first option and you'll have all the bonuses. So if you're interested, sign up to that list. It's just an email list. You're not, committing to anything right now. just learn more about it. Okay. Awesome. All right. Cara, thanks so much for your time today. I hope that your move goes well and that your voice gets better,
Thank
that
you.
you recover smoothly from your...
I'll get there. Thanks for putting up with me sounding like a frog. I'm sorry that I was a little under the weather, but I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the questions and the folks that listened in. I'm happy to help any way that I can further. So don't hesitate to reach out to me either.
Thank you. Enjoy the business course that's running. You're doing amazing work. Thanks, Cara.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.